Hi, everyone. I am excited to be here with Uri. Uri, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hi!
Uri is a great GM, one of the best I've ever had the honor of playing with,
Oh, come on.
and a dear
Flattery.
friend of mine.
Flattery wouldn't
you
work here.
you take those compliments, good sir.
No, no, I already love you enough. You don't need to give me any more of them. It's okay.
So we know each other fairly well, but Uri, can you tell the audience just a bit about yourself?
About me? Are you sure they're here for me? Wow, you're kind of putting me on the spot. So, my name is Uri, and I have been running Dungeons and Dragons games for so long. I own a Dungeons and Dragons store, like a tiny little studio, tiny little sweet magical shop where I sell Dungeons and Dragons products and I run games for people. That is basically my day job. I've done this for too long.
So you
Oh,
are
way too long.
you're currently a professional GM. You're doing this full time.
Calling me a professional is something that you are saying. I have never said that. I mean, I
But you
have
are.
said that, but I've never actually believed it.
But
Uh,
you do make a living out of it at the very least.
yeah. Every cent I make is coming out of running Dungeons and Dragons games for people.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful. That's amazing.
that's scary to think about. I mean, this hobby has gone so far in the last few years, so I've never thought that this could be an. I mean, I hope that it could be an option, but we are very uniquely situated in these days that people actually think. I don't know why, by the way, but people think Dungeons and Dragons is cool.
It is.
I was sure it's for nerds for all of my life. I was certain it's for nerds. And
Let's
recently I've discovered that the cool kids are now playing Dungeons and Dragons.
so let's dive into that. Tell me about the early stages of your discovery. How do you find out about the game?
That was years ago. I was, I think, 7.5 years old. And a community center next to where I live, they had like an event where they showed off all of the different extracurricular activities and classes kids could opt in and take during the year. And my mother forced me to go to that event. Like I had to be dragged from the house. I think that the main reason why I went was that she was working in a community center. She was managing it, and she had no babysitter for me.
So you were
And
introduced into D&D against your will.
forcefully, yes,
Forcefully.
forceful, very much so. And I went around and I like didn't like all of the like little football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, or arts classes. I found it to be really nerdy and I didn't want to join in. And then I saw this weird little woman with a cape on, and I thought, wow, she is weird. I want to talk to her. And she showed me this incredible tome of a book. Like magic spells have been forged into the pages one by one. It is the Dungeons and Dragons third edition. I didn't know that at the time. All I knew is that there were some awesome pictures in it, and I saw armor and weapons, and she was telling me that I can be a wizard, and I can be a rogue, and I can be a fighter, and I could even be an orc if I wanted to, and I can also be a wizard orc. And I said, yes, please make me into one of those things. And she said, just come on next Tuesday and just sign up for the class. And I did so.
And you
I
just
even
went for it. You never stopped.
it's a tricky question. I kind of stopped for a bit in the middle, um, but the main thing was that when I was playing Dungeons and Dragons, I was always telling my friends how fun it is, and none of them could go with me. They were all busy on Tuesdays. They all had like basketball and running and swimming and painting and computers classes, like all those really like awesome things, but that I really did not like as a kid. So what I started doing was every time we had a lunch break at school, I would tell them what happened in last week's class. And since the class is an hour and a half and the lunch break is 10 minutes, that meant that every time I went to the class, every time I went to a session, I had a week's worth of stories to tell. And I started telling them. And then my friends got really into hearing me say, like, tell all the things about Dungeons and Dragons game. And we started meeting after school so that I can tell them. And very quickly, I caught up to where we actually were in the game, and I ran out of stories. And I remember the day I went to my dungeon master, that wonderful woman, God bless her heart, and I told her, as a 7-year-old kid, I ran out of stories. I keep telling my friends about the game. None of them can make it on Tuesdays. And I ran out of stories. Can you please tell me how the story ends so that I can go and tell my friends what should happen? Because they really want to know. And she told me, okay, I will make a deal with you. I want you to tell your friends during the next 2 weeks all about different classes and different races in the game, because I think that they might also find that very interesting. And it will buy you some time so you can get farther along in the story, and maybe, you'll have more to tell. And I said, okay, that sounds like a great idea. I was so stressed out about it. I kept telling them every day. We even made a weekend sleepover out of it. And I told them all about the game. And I came back the next week and I told her, I don't have much time left. I'm out of things to tell them. And she said, okay, don't stress out. Ask them if they were to join the class, what would they play? What characters would they want to be? And I did that. And we talked about it for like 3 weeks. We had so many fights about it in our friends group. But eventually, all 9 of us, we knew exactly what we were going to play. And I went back to her and I told her, and she said, okay, take the book, take the character sheets, go to your friends, make those characters. And I was like, why should we do that? That sounds like a lot of work. And she said that just by chance, those people that my friends described actually exist in that world. We just have to find them. We did that, and I can remember the day that I realized I talked to her, and she said, now it's you guys. You need to tell the stories. You need to start making your own story. It's gonna be weird at first, but you need to enjoy it and do whatever you understand. And that is how, in the middle of second grade, I was still eating boogers and learning how to add and subtract. I started running my own Dungeons and Dragons game at school.
That's
Every
amazing.
lunch break, every break after school, like we had sleepovers and everything, and we played for years, and we made new friends, and we became like this little tiny fellowship of kids who are the nerdiest kids. We got picked on, we got bullied, but we never stopped loving the game and forging those amazing stories of bravery and heroism. And that was exactly when I was down for it. I was all in. I would play Dungeons and Dragons every day. I would run Dungeons and Dragons every day. Twice a week, I would actually go to play because one time a week wasn't enough. I signed up for an extra class with a different group
I feel
and
you.
kept on playing, and it lasted for years. And somewhere around the end of high school, we all we all have that existential crisis, I think, when we finish high school and we need to decide what are we doing with our lives. And I was so depressed about it. Like for a very long time during high school, I was very depressed about not knowing what I want to be. And I decided at the end of high school that that summer I would I would start saving up for like studying something, maybe buying a car or something, and I would sell all of my miniatures and all of my books from Dungeons and Dragons, and I would stop playing it because it's a game for kids.
Oh boy.
I don't know. I was a stupid teenager.
We all were.
Yeah, every single one of us was at least two stupid teenagers at one point. And
So when did you know that this was it?
yeah, that was exactly the point. I started selling off the collection, and I saw how much joy it was bringing people, and how much fun it was like to sell a miniature that I knew that one of my friends was playing as, like that character for years, and I would sell it off, and I'd feel sad, and I'd feel so happy to tell that friend, "Hey, I sold the miniatures," and we would reminisce about the game, and like I think that 2/3 of the way through selling my collection, I realized, can I curse on the show, by the way?
Sure.
Fuck, what am I doing? And I regretted everything immediately, and I just stopped selling it, and I just wanted to get them back. I couldn't get them back, but what I could do is to find some work, find a job and start buying things back, and I would try to buy them. And I decided, wow, I just want to do this. I've been searching for what I want to do. This is what I'm best at. This is what I love the most. And I'm sure there's a way of making a living from it. I didn't know what would that be. I knew of other Dungeons and Dragons stores, but I could never imagine I would own one. So I decided I want to work in one of those. But I was too embarrassed to go and ask for a job. I was really just plainly too embarrassed. I thought that they were professionals. I was just a geeky kid. And so I went to work in a toy store. That's the closest thing I had around me that I could do. And I was managing the board game department, and then I left the store and I went to manage a different store. And then I went and managed a different store, and I even started doing all that work to pick up a group of kids every now and then. One of my clients, one of my customers that was buying board games asked about Dungeons and Dragons, and I even made like little tiny cards, like I could give them with all of my details, how to contact me, and I started running games for them. And soon enough, I had like 3 or 4 of those groups, and I would go to their houses like every week. And there was a day, I remember that day vividly. I had a shitty day at work at the store I was managing, and the owner was arguing with me about things I could not care less about. And then I got a phone call from a mother that wanted to find a Dungeons and Dragons group for her boy and 6 of his friends. But the day they wanted, I always had a shift. And I refused her because I couldn't do it. My job was in the store. And that is the day that I quit, because I realized that if I keep working in that store, I would never be able to grow as a dungeon master. And
Did you call her back?
I tried. I couldn't reach her actually. it was quite an embarrassing affair, because I refused her so politely, and then like I think that she maybe blocked my number or something. Uh, but I couldn't reach her. But I quit and I started advertising myself a bit. I was going to conventions. I would have like booths selling miniatures and books and everything, and I would advertise and talk to people and go to conventions and run games for free, just so that people would know that I run games. And things went on. I started like to work from home. I had a gaming room where people would come over. Even adults would start coming over, like groups of uh, uh, people who just wanted to play on weekends. And I would work like Friday morning, noon, night, Saturday morning, noon, night, and it became like the house became like a train station. Just people would come and go and play Dungeons and Dragons.
Hey,
and
I want to play a D&D game. Do you have anyone, like any games available?
Yeah, like kind of like junkies going around and looking for a group. It actually still happens to this day in the store. People just come over and like, dude, did you have a group? Do you have a group of people?
You have some
dice? You have some dice to roll? You have some dice? And I just find them groups.
That's
so
amazing.
There was a day that I just decided like, okay, it's enough. I want to open a store. I started learning, went to some classes for business management after like 4 years of actually managing stores, because I knew that when I was actually run my store, I don't want to assume that I know what to do. I want to know that I know what to do.
Yeah.
And I got this place where I'm sitting right now. I have a question for you. May I?
Yes, of course.
Is it okay to tell people that we've been playing role-playing games together for quite a while now?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I can proudly say that I've seen you here several, like dozens of times, probably, playing in a cyberpunk game in the system of Genesis. And
an awesome cyberpunk game,
yeah,
if I
may. I'm dying for it to go back online when all of us have time again. Right now, it's like
we will.
The summer vacation, so everyone here is busy.
So just so you everyone at home know, Uri, when he runs sci-fi, maybe when he runs other games as well, he has these LED lights on the upper floor of his store.
Yeah.
It just activates and it just goes wild with the music and the lights, and sometimes like it feels like a police chase. So there's red and blue lights just running around and gets you so much in the mood. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's when you own a Dungeons and Dragons store, when you actually take money from people to run games, you need to make sure that you have the special effects down. So a surround sound system, LED lights,
Yeah.
and miniatures is just a part of the package at this point.
So
Uh,
what is the scope of the things you do today? Like you still run um, games for groups every week. Is
yes, that
there
is
what
correct.
else do you do in the shop? What else do you do in your business?
Okay, so I and the employees that work here, that are other dungeon masters who work here, we run games every week for groups of kids, teenagers, adults. We do summer classes or like kind of summer schools that we can run that where kids just show up in the morning and they really professionally learn how to build a character and how to improvise and role play, and they learn how to play board games and paint miniatures. We also sell products. We don't really have an online shop because we really, really believe in that like local brick and mortar store. We want people to have to get off the couch, show up here with their beautiful faces, and say hello to us when they're buying miniatures or dice. And other than that, owning a shop is actually running a business. There's a lot of work in that. We need to have so many things that people never know. And the first thing that happens when employees join the store is that I tell them, like, I ask them to sit with me for an hour and tell me all of the things they think they're going to do. And then I give them like 4 more pages of things that they never thought would happen.
We'll get
Um,
to that. We'll get to
yeah.
that. Um, but what I want to know is since you probably you've run games for hundreds of people by now, maybe even thousands. I
Yeah.
don't know. But
Um,
what?
hundred. I don't know if it's thousands, but
But
definitely, I think
definitely,
hundreds, but more than 1,000. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So, um, what is the craziest experience you had in the game?
I think I told you this story once before, and it's not really PG-13. I would, for a time, I would run games for bachelor's parties. I would, yeah, like some people would want to like a crazy Dungeons and Dragons game for a bachelor's party. They would rent some hotel rooms and would convert one hotel room into a gaming room for one night, bring lots of miniatures and like a tiny smoke machine and LED lights and like extra speakers around the room. And it would be like an experience with handouts and props. And one of those times there was a groom, and he was really geeky, and all of his friends would they were like, we need to throw him the craziest bachelor's party. And he was like, no, guys, just like a Dungeons and Dragons game would be fine. And they hired me. I showed up, but they had other plans. They decided to also invite a stripper for the bachelor's party. And she ended up showing up a bit early because she apparently had to set up her own lights and smoke machine and everything. And it was kind of an awkward experience.
Did she join the D&D game?
That's crazy, man. It's like you're asking the right questions. One of the players, like he was the geek, and they were just his friends. They didn't really know how to play the game, so they kept asking the same questions about the rules. And one of them was playing a wizard, and he decided to cast magic missile at the last boss of the game that night. And then he immediately picked up his dice, and she said, "Nah, magic missile always hits." And we just looked at her like, and apparently she was listening in on the game for quite a few minutes there and enjoying hearing us. I talked to her for a few seconds before I left, and apparently she plays Dungeons and Dragons every week with her friends, and she was like playing this bard rogue thing back at the day, and she was really having fun with it, and she was very happy to see that they were playing Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know how that night ended up being. I left before she started her thing. But I know that it was really funny that we had, like, I discovered that I, as a professional dungeon master, uh, had the pretty much exact same equipment as a stripper.
As a stripper, you're
Yeah,
fully ready to go if you ever
yeah, I'm
want a
just
career change.
ow, just
You
Just
have everything
tip
you
me.
need.
I just need to get high enough tips, and it might turn into that.
Yeah.
Because the LED lights and smoke machines and props and handouts, we almost had the same briefcase for the stuff. It was really really funny to see. That is my craziest story about being a professional dungeon master, and it's a story that I don't even know how to explain to people. Like
That's
it's
amazing. You know,
uh,
Uri, every encounter I have with you is extremely positive. Um,
well,
so
I'm
my
glad to hear
question,
that.
I wonder if you mind sharing some of your, maybe one of your low points throughout your career.
Um, I will. I was kind of talking about it before. There was a time where I really didn't like at the end of high school. I didn't know what to do with my life. I was really depressed, and like the games actually got me through the days, like knowing that I'm waiting like for the next weekend to play again. But I think the lowest point was right. I don't think it's a point. It's more like a constellation. When I was opening the store the first time, I was so afraid of failing, and I thought maybe I need to change up the whole thing. And the craziest point of that was that I opened up my store for the wide public just as we were getting into the first Corona quarantines. And that meant that I've invested a year of effort and so many months of like being here, building the IKEA shelves myself, cleaning up the place, painting it, just to see it shut down almost like less than 2 weeks after the first day I opened here. And that was, I was really desperate at that time. And I was looking for people who were willing to play games online. And most of my customers were not interested because they were paying for the LED lights and smoke machines and surround
Miniatures.
sound and all the miniatures and crazy boards we had on the table, and it really didn't translate well
Yeah.
into an online game, the style of game that we had, and my business was crumbling down. Uh, I even really seriously considered closing up shop and giving up on it, but I I was able to push through it. Mainly, I think what held me together was that every time I did have some customers around, I did have a business interaction. It was about Dungeons and Dragons. It was something that I loved doing, and I knew that it's not like I want to go back to my job. I wanted to go back to playing and running games,
Yeah.
and and that kept me focused. I think that every one of your viewers probably experienced that so many physical games got shut down, but thanks to online platforms that we will keep unnamed since they are not yet a sponsor of the show.
They aren't.
Wink, wink. Um, so many players could find a new home for actually keeping the game alive, and I was very happy about that. And I kind of learned how to use those tools. But every time I tried to play a
Mm,
game over an unnamed platform, wink, wink, I just missed my table so much. I just
yeah.
missed my table, and I couldn't. I did enjoy the games I played, but knowing that
It's
I'm sitting at home a few blocks away from this place, but I could not enter. I could not open the door. It was illegal to even put the key in the lock to open the door.
uh,
It really sucked.
yeah.
Yeah.
Online games are just not the same, but
They're not the same. They could be amazing. Let me
they
tell you
can be.
that. Like
Yeah.
when an online game is good, it's amazing. But when your style and your group is so well used to the table, it's, I won't say impossible, but it's improbable to make the transition successfully and keeping all the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, my campaigns went online. I have two running campaigns, and we were still running throughout the pandemic. And at the beginning, I was adamant about transitioning everything online and continuing the game. But after several months, I understood that I'm putting a lot more effort into that, and it doesn't feel the same. Like I'm not ashamed to say that I did not enjoy the game the same way, and we eventually played a bit less, and not in the same
Yeah.
consistency we had before. Luckily, here we not very long after we had, we were able to go back and meet in smaller groups, which is great for us because once they allow 10 people to meet, you
10
can
people
play.
is too many people. Yeah.
Yeah,
10 people is a big table.
yeah, I run the game. I run for 7 people and 8 people. Those are two of my campaigns.
Wow. The most I ran
Always.
for in one room, I think, was like in events like for 12 people, but usually like the biggest group that I've had for friends of mine was I think 9, and even that lasted for only a couple of weeks.
Well,
Uh,
I'm doing it for a few years
yeah,
now.
Whew. That's
But they're
hard.
good. They're good players. That's why I can
Uh,
do that.
big groups only work if the players understand the limitations of a big group and understand how to uh, perform
And
in
share
such a
the
large scale.
spotlights. They need to share
Yeah,
the spotlight.
sharing the spotlight is actually something that I don't know. Like some of your viewers probably also do live action role playing, LARP, and I've come to realize the more I played in LARPs, I realized that people who play in LARPs are very good at role playing simultaneously at a table. They are good at it. I don't know if it's something that is good to be done, but they are really good at it, and I think there's a lot of things to learn from the LARPing community about how to run a large scale game like that. Because it's very good that the dungeon master is aware of everything, but sometimes the dungeon master doesn't need to be aware of the 40-minute conversation the wizard and the cleric are having about the effects of magic on the spirit of man.
Though wouldn't
It's
that
interesting.
wouldn't these conversations be better to happen off screen?
They are happening off screen. They're just happening at the far end of the table. It's kind of
Ah,
off screen. Yeah.
I see.
It's a whole. I think that you can make like several videos about like the whole topic of LARPing versus tabletop gaming, and what can each of those groups learn from the other. That's
That's an
so.
interesting premise. I'm gonna write it down. So I have another question for you that some of our
Sure.
viewers will definitely be interested in, and is
Am I
what?
single? No, I'm
Yes, no,
kidding.
you're not. I
No,
know you're not single.
I'm not single.
No,
Sorry.
no. So one question is, say one of our viewers at home wants to start GMing professionally. Where should they start?
Wow. First of all, you should start by having fun playing the game. You should start by having fun running the game. If you are really enjoying it, then that is really the first step. But after you have realized you like playing role playing games, you should think about what you're good at, because I know that many people are good at different things. Maybe you are really good at writing adventures. Maybe you are really good at running games. Maybe you are amazing at painting miniatures. Even if you are like deciding that okay, I'm good at running games, maybe you really are good at running them for kids. Maybe you're really good at running them for adults. Maybe you are amazing in running one shots. Maybe your specialty is the long, customized campaign. Find out what you are good at. Find your relative advantage. That is an advice I can give everyone about any business they would like to start, but especially in this kind of hobby business. You really should think about what is your specialty and how do you market it. It's weird because it's such a small hobby worldwide. It's such a niche, but still, your specialty is something very important because this is your starting point towards marketing yourself outside. When I started, I realized I was amazing at running games for kids. I loved it. I really like that creativity, that like untouched mind of a kid that's like just creative and just wants to do something for the fun of it. And they learn so much so quickly. I love to see the process of them growing up, and I just knew that this is what I was going to do, and I started marketing towards that. But another really good advice I can give people is actually an advice that I got from a common friends of ours. Um, the best day The best time to start charging money for what you are good at is now. Don't wait until a time when you think you are more ready. The time to find what is a worthy payment for you is right now, and start asking for it. Because if you're good, people are going to pay it, and you might be worth a lot more than you think. This is like the business advice I would give you. The life advice about that is remember to always prepare for your games. When you're running games for your friends, it's okay to come a bit unprepared for the game. It's fine, your friends will understand. Paying customers will not. You need to be consistent with your friends. It's okay if the game is canceled by the GM every once in a while. If you are getting paid, well, you cannot cancel the game. If someone is paying you, they also cannot cancel the game. That is how you make a living. You should not allow that, probably, or at least have some rules around it. And the last advice I have for keeping your sanity: if you are about to run a game professionally for a group of people, make sure that you have a game that you are playing with your friends, not running for your friends, but playing with your friends. Because dungeon master burnout is a real thing, and the easiest way of getting burned out is not playing enough. It's weird. The more you play, the less burned out you get. But you need to keep that balance really, and watch it really closely. Just like a professional athlete would have days for training and days for rest, just the same way a dungeon master should have days for each of those things.
Thank you very much, Uri. Is there anything else you want to tell our audience tonight?
Wow. If I could leave you guys with a message, is enjoy your game, love the people in your table, and accept them. Not everyone is perfect. No, not everyone is the best player, but everyone is a player, and they all should have a spot around your table. And never forget to have fun playing the game. It's the most important thing. This is why we all play it. Uh, and if you ever have a question or an idea or something that you would like to know more about, I think that this channel is a great way of
Oh.
getting that information. No, I'm serious about it. I've been
And also
watching.
in this moment, Uri just promised to answer your question in the comments. So if you
Ah,
have any
shoot!
questions,
I promised to talk to people about something I love. Why do I
so
keep
so
doing
if
it?
if you have any questions for Uri about anything
I
we talked about tonight or just general advice, you can shoot it in the
I'd be more than
comments.
happy to try and be active in the comments for a while once this video goes up in the air. And I had another thing I wanted to say. What was it?
I interrupted you. I'm
Um,
sorry about that. You something great about the channel that you love it so much, and it's
oh
great.
yeah. I was complimenting your amazing and professional channel, and I also would suggest to everyone, if you are looking for advice and information, online platforms are a great way of finding those resources. I know that I watch and I follow closely, I think at least 20 something channels here on YouTube. And is it okay if I throw
Yeah,
a
of
shout out
course,
for other channels as well?
of course.
I will throw the obvious ones that I think that you might have talked about in the past. I'm not sure. There is Matthew Colville's channel.
Yeah.
That is a great channel. He has kind of like a show he calls Running the Game, and that is on the 90 ninety
Yeah, it
five.
has. I think it has 90 something episodes. Matt
Plenty of
Scoville's
episodes. Is
show is one of the reasons I'm doing this. I'm YouTubing.
Yeah, he's really a charming guy with many different opinions, which I agree with like at least 80% of, which is a lot.
Yeah,
And there's also Dale Kingsmill. Uh, I think it's called Monarch Factory.
Monarch Factory. Yep.
Yeah, also a really good channel. I think that she comes at things like Matthew is like really the top down professional approach of how do you design a game from a professional. Dale is more like, I am a girl playing Dungeons and Dragons and I want to get good at it. And she is so creative and she goes into so much depth about thoughts that we are all having as players, but she finds the way to phrase them in very. You should watch her. Like watch her.
I'm a fan. I'm already
Oh,
a
I'm not
fan.
talking to you. I'm talking to your audience. Go watch. She has many videos about traps and languages. Amazing thing, and she also
Mythology.
tells mythology and fairy tales. Oh my
Mhm.
god, really good channel. So those are like two shout outs that I really want to give. And if you wanna build stuff, there's like just look for tabletop crafting on YouTube. You'll find so many things.
And
Go
if you
online.
happen to be around Israel and want to find a great place to play some
Oh,
D&D,
oh,
buy
we meet where we
miniatures,
live. Oh,
yeah, of course, I'm not
if you're
hiding
ever
anything.
in Israel, I have so many competitors. Go give them money, please. We all
Uh,
need the money right now.
and that's
I also need it, but I have also competitors who are amazing people. Remember, this is a hobby. We are all a family. Stores should not be
support
rivals.
the local game store.
Support local gaming shops. They are the reason why the hobby keeps expanding. If they would not exist in 5 or 10 years, no one would be playing.
Very
They
true.
are like
The
you know,
heart and soul of the community. Thank
they
you
are
very much,
the
Ori. Thank
yeah.
you so much.
I was so happy to be here, and you better invite me again.
I will.
Okay,
So
yes.
thank you, and thank you for watching and joining us on this lovely, lovely interview. And remember, until next time, that you are awesome. Keep being awesome, and we will see you beyond the screen.
Bye.